after receiving the revelation. He came back to his wife Khadija and said, "Cover me, cover me." They covered him until he restored security, and he informed her of the incident of the cave when he received the revelation and that he was frightened. His wife tried to smooth or soothe him and reassured him, saying, "Allah will never disgrace you. You unite uterine relations. You bear the burden of the weak. You help the poor and the needy. You entertain the guests and endure hardships in the path of truthfulness." And she took him to her cousin Waraqa bin Nawfal. Who had embraced Christianity in the pre-Islamic period, and he used to write the Hebrew scriptures. He was an old blind man. Khadija said, "My cousin, listen to your nephew." And Waraqa said, "Oh, my nephew, what did you see?" And Allah's Messenger ﷺ told him what happened to him. Waraqa replied, "This is the Namus," meaning the angel, who is entrusted with the divine revelation that Allah sent to Moses, meaning he is the same who came to you now. I wish I were younger. I wish I could live up to the time when your people would turn you out. Muhammad ﷺ asked, "Will they drive me out?" Waraqa answered in the affirmative, and he said, "Anyone who came with something similar to what you have brought was treated with hostility. And if I should be alive till that day, then I would support you strongly." And a few days later, Waraqa died. Not only that, even the jinn knew him. We read in Surah Al-Ahqaf, verse 30, 46, verse 30. وَلَّوْا إِلَى قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ قالوا يا قومنا إنا سمعنا كتابا أنزل من بعد موسى مصدقا لما بين يديه يهدي إلى الحق وإلى طريق مستقيم. They said, "O our people, verily we have heard a book, this Quran, sent down after Musa, after Moses, confirming what came before it. It guides to the truth and to a straight path," meaning Islam. Buhayr al-Rahib, the priest, the monk, knew him while he was young and commanded his uncle to protect him. He knew from his description, the descriptions mentioned in the gospel, that he will be coming. And he commanded his uncle to protect him. Abdullah bin Salam was a Jew, but he knew the truth. He knew that Muhammad, is the one coming from Arabia. The Prophet to all mankind. So he accepted him when others from the Jews rejected. Similarly, the king of the Romans, Heraclius, knew that he was the truth, that Muhammad was the truth, something which the Christians around him denied. So, listen to this conversation which took place between Heraclius, the king of the Romans, and one of the leaders of the pagans then, Abu Sufyan, who later accepted Islam. He talked to Abu Sufyan and said, I asked you about his family, and your reply was that he belonged to a very noble family. In fact, all the messengers come from the noble families amongst their respective peoples. I questioned you whether anybody else amongst you claimed such a thing, meaning prophethood, and your reply was in the negative. If the answer had been in the affirmative, I would have thought that this man was following the previous man's statement. Then I asked you whether any one of his ancestors was a king, and your reply was in the negative. And if it had been in the affirmative, I would have thought that this man wanted to take back his ancestral kingdom. I further asked whether he was ever accused of telling lies before. He said, Then I asked you whether any one of his ancestors was a king. Your reply was in the negative. And if it had been in the affirmative, I would have thought that this man wanted to take back his ancestral kingdom. I further asked whether he was ever accused of telling lies before he said what he said, and your reply was in the negative. So I wondered how a person who does not tell a lie about others could ever tell a lie about Allah. I then asked you whether the rich people followed him or the poor. You replied that it was the poor who followed him, and in fact, these poor always are the followers of the messengers. Then I asked you whether his followers were increasing or decreasing. You replied that they were increasing, and in fact this is the way of true faith, till it is complete in all respects.